Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're learning Masechtas Nazir Daf Lamed Ches. We are going to begin on Lamed Ches with Aleph by the two dots, about 8 lines from the top. Rabbi Nazir says that there's Eser Reviyos. There's actually 10 different laws which are seemingly totally unrelated, but they are connected in this way that the measurement is Reviyos. And the way to remember that is V'naked Rav Kahana biyadei, he had the following almost mnemonic. Chamish, which were sumkasa, 5, which had to do with something red, which is more blood or wine related. V'chamish chivarta, and 5 which are white. So what exactly is this referring to? So before we go further, we look in the Mefarish. The Mefarish says that there's Eser Reviyos, Basar Mekomos Nasimhem Toyer Shir Reviyos. So let's go through these. So, and the Mefarish says, what is red? Yain V'dam, blood and wine. And white is Mayim V'shemen, things which pertain to water and oil. So Chamish Sumkata, what are these 5 red? So Nazir V'yisa Pesach, if a Nazir who made Pesach, Shahayru, and he was judged B'mikdash, Umesu, and he died. So that's a mnemonic to remember. So what are these? So first of all, Nazir. We know Reviyos Yain Nazir, that in order for a Nazir to have violated his Nazirus, if he consumed the measure of a Reviyos of wine. Oisa Pesach, what does that mean? Diam Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel, Arba Kaisas Halal Shieh Behen Kedei Reviyos. When it comes to the 4 cups in which the Chachamim Masakein, it's necessary that it should be the amount of a Reviyos. Says the Mefarish, Kun Reviyos Lug Yain Chai. Dahainu Beitz O Mechsa Kedei Shim Segenu V'Yamod Al Roiv Reviyos Shaboy. Kedei Reviyos, you can go into Dari Al Chad Tlasa Ma'ik Mefarish Hasam. So Gemara brings this down in Shabbos, depends on the potency of the wine. So you have a Rev Reviyos, a quarter of very strong wine that is diluted with 3/4 water, or depending on, again, that ratio, to equal a Reviyos fine. Shahayru, shas, so what is that? Shahayru, shasa Reviyos yain al yaira. That if a person drinks already a cup of wine, then they should not paskin. Says Mefarish, K'dichsev, yan v'sheich ateish, so samachlei, l'havdil hoidois, the mashmel inyan hara nami lo yeshte. Even for paskening and for listening to situations and halakhic questions, you also should not have drunk before. You shouldn't have had a Reviyos of wine. Okay. Weiter, b'mikdash. Shas Reviyos yain v'nechtas v'mikdash chayim misa. The person enters the Beis Hamikdash having consumed this, as the pasuk says, "Yam v'sheich al teish," so you're chayim misa. Umesu, what is that? Tesanya. When 9 Reviyos dam, if you have a measure of Reviyos of blood, shiatz mishnei mesim, even if it came from 2 different corpses, shehema tama ba'oil, there's a tumus oil, not just on a Reviyos dam, but even if it came from more than 1 mace, shnemer bial kol nafshois mace lo yavoy. Why does it say that language? So it's the mashma, says the Mefarish, mishnei mesim, nefashos is lashon rabim. Mashma, even there's 2. Reviyos kari le nefesh. Okay. Fine. So, and the Reviyos dam is called a nefesh, because kidam hu nefesh. Okay, and now we're up to the chamish chivorta. So there's 5 which are white, and this is actually a question, TA 13. Chamish Reviyos b'chirta, eluheim, and they were nice on this test. Kasu lifchos arba. Tell me 4 of the 5. Okay, so what is the mnemonic? Chalos Nazir Mitzayrish Nifsul b'Shabbos. They have the chal of a Nazir Mitzayr that became invalidated on Shabbos. Okay, so what exactly happened over here? So actually, this was what we mentioned before about Reviyos dam coming from 1 mace is actually not l'divrei koil. Okay, that's according to the Shita of Rabbi Kiva, but it's brought down at the beginning of the Sanhedrin, the Ilu Rabbanan in Matam Reviyos dam shiyatzim in hames ela miksheitzim memes echad belvad. They actually hold that it only is matama ba'oil dafke if it came Reviyos dam from 1 mace, but if it was a mixture of 2 different corpses, blood to equal, then according to them, no. Okay, so what's chalas? Chalas revius, a challah is a revius. Shemen l'challah. Nazir revius, shemen l'nazir. Okay, so this is coming to tell us the shiurim, the amounts for these different things. So a chalas revius is shemen l'challah, is referring to the amount of oil that's used for the challah. Okay, mitzayra revius mayim u'mitzayra. That the mitzayra, as the Mefarsh says, nazir revius shemen l'nazir is Rikiki Nazir. Mitzayra revius mayim u'mitzayra. So it says in Masechta Saita, which we'll see soon, the Shachat is a sipur achas, that they will slaughter one of the birds, el kli cheres, al mayim chayim. That you have to have in this kli cheres mayim chayim. Yarminin kama mayim yehe noisin boy kidei shehei kishishoyso. How much water has to be in there? Kidei shehei dam tzipur nicker, so that the blood of the bird is recognizable. The kam revius. So he said that's how much water needs to be in there. Mitzvah revius mayim l'mitzvah. Shenifslu ditnan v'shar kol hamashkin tamein poislin es hagviya revius, and all other impure liquids, says Mefarsh, mitzdarfin l'tamim mashkin acherim can be matama other liquids kishiyotz behen revius v'lifsel es hagviya. Passel the throat when you swallow it revius kishishayis ice when you drink it kadei achilas pras within that certain period of time. B'Shabbos is brought them to Shabbos, then have Bashar call mashkin revius. When it comes to carrying other liquids, what is the Isser Hotzah? If it's an amount of a revius. Bashar call a shayvchen revius. And also shayvchen, which has to do with when you spill and throw liquid into the Rishus HaRabim, it's revius. Okay, let's look at question 5. Let's see how he writes this. Actually, let's look at question TA 13, as I said. So revius shemen l'chala, which is referring to a chalos taida, that you have to have a revius of oil in there. Revius shemen, revius also of oil for a nazir. So the first two have to do with the amount of oil that needs to be used either for carbon toda or for the nazir. Revius mayim l'tzipoyrim mitzayra, as we said, that you have to have a revius of water together with the mixture with the blood, which is put into a kli a kli cheres. Revius mashkin tamein poisas gvia. Every revius of liquid, which is impure, can passel you when you swallow it. Revius l'hoitzel b'Shabbos, and also the revius for carrying a liquid out on Shabbos. Let's look at question 5. So question 5 says, Esther Rabbi is saying, "V'chamish chivarta chalas nazir mitzvah shnifsel b'Shabbos. El hilchos hein shenifselu." Which one is shenifselu and what is b'Shabbos? So one of them is easy. Shenifselu revius mashkin tamein poisan esagavi, and b'Shabbos that shir hamashkin v'ashayvchin le'inyan hoitzah. When you carry it outside, the measurement is a revius. Okay, and Taisus actually says this clearly. Chalos revius shemen is chalos taida, as opposed to the next Taisus, nazir revius shemen l'nazir sheishne minim chalos v'rakikin. So it's referring to the rakikin. Okay. Fine. So the Gemara says, so there's 10, 5 red, 5 white. So on this, the Gemara says, what do you mean? There's more than just this list. How about Meravius Noitan Liadayim Echad V'Afil L'Shnayim? That when it comes to a Kli, when it comes to doing the Tilas Yadayim, you have to make sure that it has a minimal measurement of a revius of water. But if it has that minimal measure of water, not only could you wash your hands, but also in addition to that, we will allow a second person as well. If you look in the Mefarsh, it's brought down the Afagav the Leis Behu Kedei Revius L'Sheni. Even though there's not a revius for the second guy, nonetheless the Chiddush is Hoyel Varishan Havilei Kedei Shir Nitila. As long as the first person had the Shir Nitila, even though he obviously washed in a lot of the water, he maybe used half of the water, nonetheless it's still good. The question is, why do we mention that? Rand says, "Beplukta loy kamayri." We don't want to mention a machlokas. What do you mean? So the Mefarish says, actually, there's an opinion that says no. When it comes to the Netilas Yadayim, it's dafka one person and not two. Because, again, the second person, it's not going to be a sheer revius in there because he already used it. So we don't want to mention a machlokas, so we don't mention that case. Okay. Avoika hayamevi pili shilcheres. This is referring to a sota that she brings a vial of earthenware. They put a half a lug of water in it, they kira from the labor. And there's another opinion that the amount that's used when it comes to, again, the concoction for the saita, that the amount that's put in is a revius. The answer, it's a machlokas. So, what's the haba mean? It's Beferish, we just said was a machlokas. Okay. So, how about in Masechtas Brachos, toward the end of the third parak, that let's say a person has some urine, or like a vessel which has urine in it. So the question is, how much do you need to put in? How much regular water you need to put in to dilute it so that you'll be able to say a davar shebekdusha next to it? So one says a koshu, one says you have to put in a revius. Again, it's hard to understand this question because we know the answer. But plugdala kamairi doesn't mention a machlokas, which again, what we can maybe say is that each of these questions could have been asked separately in separate locations, and now we're compiling them together. But davar pashut that this is what the answer would be. Arika mikvah. How about when it comes to a mikvah? What does that mean? So in this, the Mefarish says they were learning the second parak of Masechtas Mikvahis. Rabbi Lezer Omer revius mayim shayvin paisalas a mikvah. He says a revius of drawn water will passel the mikvah. So he says, Bar Mahi dibatur rabbanon. What does that mean? So even though it's the truth that a revius of mayim is going of drawn water will passel a mikvah, says the Mefarish, the Amru de Pachs Megimel Lugin lo pasli. The Rabbanan said that if it's less than 3 lug of drawn water, then it will not passel mikvah. Lishnachrina va'ika mikvah. The Amr mikvah hamachzik revius. If you have a mikvah which holds a revius, royal hatbil by mechatin v'sinaris, which is brought down also in the Masechtas Chagiga, that you could toivel these like little kalim, like little pins and the like. So the batul rabbanon of yarmid to be in on our boim sa feel l'machtin l'sinaris. So it's brought down in Chagiga for whatever reason. Discusses the couple of reasons why over there that you actually, the din is even for these little kalim which could easily be submerged in a very small amount of water, the Rabbanan made a little plug and said that it doesn't make any difference. The din still is that you have to immerse it in a mikvah of memsa. Question 6: Kamashir hamayim betfila. How much water needs to be there? Achashi bitlu rabbanan revius betfila de mikvah. So how much actually now has to be there? So he says like this: L'kelim b'chol shehu, Adam shir kol guf oil behen v'hainu or boim sa. So it seems l'chayra that it's pretty beferish that not kol shehu by kalim, but it says even by machtin scenarios. So if we continue learning over here, it says yesh behen arbaim sa bar mahi de batur banan takatani reisha sheish ba chaf al sa memeg shamim. Okay, so that's the Mefarish. So Tosfos says like this. That was the Mefarish. So the Tosfos says pirish hatzrich arbaim sa, that we still require 40 sa. Afil machn snairis adam oil boy mem sa mikvah. And when it comes to a person, you definitely need 40 sa for a mikvah. As we continue to Lamed Ches Amid Beis, the Amar Rabbi the Mekol Makam Revius de Me'ayin. when it comes to a spring, lo batur, they did not mavatal it. V'yochel hatu machnin b'mayin afil koshehu. This is the Taisus I didn't realize was on this page. That even a small amount you could, the whole gezer is not by a mikvah, but when it comes to a ma'ayin, a person can use these small vessels can be immersed even the smallest amount of water. Ditnan, as it says, mikvah b'mem sa u'ma'ayin b'chol shehu. And this is Adam to ha mikvah b'inan mem sa. We know we need 40. Im kain gam ha'ma'ayin lo matayir Adam b'chol shehu to b'inan mayim shekol gufi yischasa behen. So when it comes to a person, we're big, so therefore you need memsa. Therefore, it doesn't make any difference. When it comes to a person, you need memsa. Whenever it comes to a kli, so we see beferish. This is the part of the Taisus I needed to see. The din is that it's even b'chol shehu. That's dafka by a ma'ayin when it comes to a well, like a spring. However, if it comes to a mikvah, so then in fact it's arboing. It's 40 saw. Okay. And then the Gemara continues and says like this: Ve'enu chayiv ella ad shiyoichel min hanavim kazayas. So you're only chayiv if you ate from the grapes a kazayas. Okay, so v'chulu. So Tanakama, which is the Mishnah Rishayna, lo medamil hein l'chol yisuri nazir l'shtia. They do not compare the dinim of all the yisurim of a nazir to drinking. What does that mean? So if you look in the Mafarish, he says, the ilu anavim b'kazayas, v'yayin b'revius. It's different because when it comes to grapes, the measurement, because it's a solid, is a kazayas. However, wine, which is a liquid, it's a revius. It's not the same measure. Rabbi Kiva kivadich sebanavim leich lachaviyaveshim lo yoichel machil b'kazayas av kol yisurim kazayas. So as he says, when it comes to like dipping the wine into the bread based on mishras, that he holds that heter is mistarful iser. We also see from here that the measure is actually kazayas, not revius. Okay. Question 7. Kama hashir shel shtias yayin benazir la'inyan malchus. So we see from here that Tanakama hold it's a revius, and when it comes to, and Rabbi Kiva holds it's a gazayas. Okay, we'll see maybe a third opinion of Rav Shimon. He's going to say kol shehu. All right. So you're chayav on each one separately. Tanrabanan. When it comes to these grapes, which are have liquid or solid, which actually was just coming to tell you that you can be chayiv for two, because you can be chayiv for anavim lachim and also anavim yaveshim. And from this we can derive this din to all other dinim. Makan shehu min echad. It's one species, it's a grape. The hen shtei shemus, but it has two different names, because even though it's the same anavim, they're still grapes, but one is yavesh, one is lach. The chayiv al zem ifni atzma, and then you're going to be chayiv for two. So have kol shehu min echad, the hen shnei shemus. So to any time you find something similar that it has two names, again lach and yavesh, or maybe zug v'chartzon, the pits and the skins, chayiv al zem ifni atzma. We asuye, and that comes to include chamra chadata v'invi, new wine and grapes. So these are considered to be two shemos, and therefore it's enough that you're going to be chayev twice. Says the Mafarish, shafal pi shehin min echad shayach chadash matok, that's new ka'anavim, just like grapes. Hoyev b'shnei shemos yeshelhu chayev al kol achzachas. So Amar Abaya, achol chartzon, if a person would eat the chartzon, which is the skin, the pits, like a shtayim, you're going to be chayiv two. Achol zog, if you ate the skins like a shtayim, you're also going to be chayiv two. Achol Chartzen Bezog like a Shalish. So you're going to be chayav 3. So why so much? So the Mefarsh says, Achas mikol asher yasim gefen hayayin, v'achas al chartznayim, v'achas al zug, dul yoichel, don't eat. A kuhu koi. Those words, dul yoichel, is going on everything. It's more inclusive. So Rabbi, yeah, but we don't get malchus for that, because eno loika el achas. She'eno loika alav shebechlolos. Because when you have a lav in which is more inclusive, so you're not going to get malchus on that. And therefore, this lav of lo yoichal is a lav shebechlolos. And according to him, you don't get malchus on a lav shebechlolos. So Master Rav Papa, Rav Papa asked the following question. If you have a Nazir who's drinking wine all day, because it's like one action, even though he's doing a lot. So Amrulo al teisht, if we say al tish, don't drink, so you keep giving him numerous hasra, and he's drinking throughout after each hasra, he's chayv each time. Let's say a person's eating these liquidy or dry grapes, whether there's pits or skins, the peel, the sochat, eshkoil al navim b'shasa. A person squeezes the cluster of grapes and drinks like a chamish. In this situation, it says you're actually going to get malchus 5. Now, ihachi lilki sheish, you should actually get 6. Achas al mikol asher yasa. You should also get on mikol asher yasa. But the fact that you don't say this must be because you hold a lav shebechlolos in loikin lav. So the answer is no. The truth is you do get malchus for mikol asher yasa. So why does it mention it? Tan v'shayir, like it often does when we have an extensive list. It doesn't necessarily mention everything, so it's excluding that. So the Gemara always asks the same question, my shire to high shire. The only time you're going to be able to give this answer is if there's multiple things that are omitted. But if the only thing that's omitted is one thing, so why would it would not mention that? It must be because the din doesn't apply. That when it comes to this pasuk, because the lav shebechol, I can get malchus. Where it says no, there's other things too. Shire lo yachel davaro. It's also leaving out bal yachel davar, which you are also going to be chayav for. So im yishom hai lav shiruhu. No, that bal yachel doesn't count. Kikatani, what are we mentioning? Midil aseh beduch tachriti, things that aren't applicable in other situations. Lo yachel davaro isil b'nedarim. The Isra of Lo Yachel is something which applies to other things such as Nedarim, and therefore it's not going to mention that. Even though it's true, you are violated Bal Yachel, but it doesn't mention it. But again, that's not considered to be like something which is left out. So therefore, it must be a raya. The fact that it doesn't mention this either, Bal Yachel, it teaches because the Lav Shemachol is in Loikanov. Amur Ravina. Miparzakil or Ravashi, Avhar Shire de Ben Habinayim. When it comes to Ben Habinayim, which is the flesh of the grape between the seed and the skin, it's just autoisis. It could be other things that unripened grapes. El Omer Papa Lo Tanya Midi Chamesh. It doesn't say 5, right? It says the Mefarsh El like a stam. It just says you're going to get malchus. So you can't ask any questions because it's not saying 5, and therefore it must be coming to exclude 6, and therefore it must be a raya that when it comes to lav shebechlolos, you don't get malchus. No, it doesn't say the number. So therefore, it just says you get malchus. So it could be you get malchus multiple times, even on that. And then Gemara continues, as we can do Lam Tesmat Aleph, Ois v'chamish. But we posed the question as there was 5. And after we're saying it doesn't say 5, so then why did Rav Papa ask the question? So Rav Papa Anasavri, I held Lav Gemarahi Biyadi V'Hadirbe. V'Yadani the Gemara. He didn't realize it was actually a valid statement. Biyadi V'Hadirbe, in that he just did not retract. Rabbi Lezim and Azari Omer B'Chul, Rabbi Yosef, Kaman Mitargaminan Miportsanin Viad Itzurin Karav Yosi. So when these words, which again, Mirportsionim is mashma the pnimi, the inside, the itzruin is mashma the outside, is like the shita of Rabbi Yossi, who again, he explained it just like a bell. The clapper is on the inside, and that's the pit, and the outside of the bell is a zug, and therefore that's referring to the peel. Okay, let's stop here and let's see. Okay, again, question 7. Kama hashir shel shtias yain benazal in malchus. So he said either it's a revius or kazayas, and Rav Shimon actually says a kol shehu. Let's see, TA 13 we saw. TB 14. Hisru boy al toichel anavim. Don't eat grapes. V'achal navim lachim v'yaveshim kama malchus loika. How many will he get? Umishoma loika. So on this, he says you get loika shalish. Alachim chada, the yaveshim chada, umal yachel, or according to Abai, loika revius mishum kol asher yasa. Adkan.